Okay, so I want to welcome everyone today. It's an exciting day because we're going to get some results back to our disc profiling that quite a few of you took the option to do these disc profiles. Obviously, we explored mine a little bit last time, and what I can tell you is that we are evolving, and if I had done that disc profile back in the GFC period, it would have been completely different. So don't don't think that we aren't going to change. But what I love about this profiling and exploring who we are is we actually dive in a bit deeper and find out what it is that our values and what we treasure, what is it that's important to us, how we like to act, and then sometimes we can see how we are reacting. And I think with awareness, we actually are able to become a better version of ourselves. So it goes back to that who I must become to be a property developer. And I know I stand a lot stronger, a lot truer to my values in this pandemic time of our life, as opposed to the GFC time of life. So we're going to open it up now to our expert, Rebecca Ramsay, who I affectionately call Beckers, and we're going to ask her to explore some of we'll go through the basic overview of it first, perhaps, Beckers, and then we can dive into, I know Roseanne's offered, well, she didn't offer, I asked her if we could dive into her profile a little bit more. Now, if everyone wants to ask questions, you know how to go about that, and please feel free. We want this to be interactive. So thank you, Beckers. I'll let you take it from here.
Beautiful. Thank you, ladies. Very exciting to be back. And it was, it made my week to see your profiles popping into my inbox. So when you completed it, I get a notification that you've done it. And I've gone in this morning and kind of brief little look at all of those. And a couple of you emailed me. Thank you, Bernie. Great questions. So I couldn't help myself. I had to go digging and, and have a good look through. So I'd love to spend a few minutes this morning just giving you a bit of an overview, a little bit deeper than we talked about last time, and showing you an example report. And ideally, you've got yours in front of you, and you can sort of compare and contrast. And there's some very relevant questions in general about adaptive and natural and things like that. So I'll answer a few of those just generally to start with, and then I'd love to get into throw it at me. This is actually where I really love. To respond exactly to what's going on. So I've calculated, hit or miss, that I've probably debriefed about 500 of these, specifically discs. So I've actually got goosebumps this morning. I'm really excited because it's so exciting to be able to give you guys some valuable insights. So let's get stuck in. So excuse my eyes going. I've got a couple of screens open so I can keep track of you all, and I'm going to share this one with you. It's a sample one, so it's no one from this group at the moment. All right, so you should be able to see this one. It says it's for John Barker, so it's a sample report. There is no John Barker, just so you know. So Lorna, can you just confirm you can see John the graph there?
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
All right, so you've all got that on page 2 of your profile after the title page, and that's the graph that kind of gives us the indications. So I'm going to talk through that quickly and then also point you to the other pages in your report. Some of you will have had a chance to read through. So the disc, just remembering that this is a behavioural profile. So this talks about how we turn up, how we engage, and I probably mentioned last time that this is often how people might describe us because it's what they experience of us. And it talks about the decisive behaviour style, the interactive or influencer behaviour style, the stabilising or supporter, and the cautious or careful style. And what's really important to think about when we're talking about profiles, and this is what I've learned over the years, and admittedly, this was one of the first ones I used over 12 years ago. I was very reticent because I'm, was a bit gung-ho about not being put in a box, etc., etc. But the more I've understood how they work and when used properly, and when using like really valid reports, like the ones that you've taken part in, this is the science and technology and research behind this particular, how this one's put together is phenomenal and really, really trustworthy. So I wouldn't be using it otherwise. So you can really, feel comfortable with that. it's not about being put in a box. And if someone talks to you about a profile and says, oh, you are a D or you are an S, you know, that's not how we should talk about ourselves. These are ingredients that make us all up, and we have a different amount of each. And depending on the cake we're baking will depend on how much we're using, okay? We are all a little bit different. But it does talk to how we approach different things. And it's a behavior profile, so it's one dimension of how we turn up. You know, I use some other tools around values and what drives us, what motivates us. This is not that, okay? So it gives us some indication, but it's not that. I've got other tools that talk about how we make decisions, how we process information, what are we relying on to, you know, to make our innate decisions and our conscious decisions. So this is something that gives us an indicator of some of those things. So the D, the decisive, they're someone who's dealing with problems and challenges. That's what they kind of thrive on. The interactive or the influencer, they're about people and contacts. That's what they thrive on. The S is around pace and consistency, and the C is around procedures, constraints, you know, looking for correctness. And interestingly, there's the stats, if we were kind of to measure across different reports, about 18% of people show up as what we call a high D. So think about sort of 70 and above. 29% I's, 45% S, and C is around 8% of people that show up as the high. But as you can see, and looking at this example one, you know, John here, he's quite even tempered across all four. But to give an idea, and I'll just talk in a minute in kind of extremes, and none of us, well, actually there was someone's report I looked at who had some extremes, but I'll talk in extremes for a minute, but just because you've got an element of that doesn't mean you're an extreme of something. So what the Ds want, they want results, yeah? What the Is want, they're wanting recognition. What the S's want, they want relationship. And what the C's want, well, they want to be right. Okay, so if I was all C, I'd want to be right a lot. But the chances are I'm never going to be all C. I'm going to have the others in there that temper it out, you know. And if I was all D, then I would want results, and I'd want them now, right? So it's all relative speaking. So that gives us an idea of, you know, kind of where we're looking. Some of the other interesting things to think about is the questions that someone asks, and this will come true. And this is how we can identify people just when you meet them out and about. You can go, that's okay. I'm dealing with someone who's, you know, there's quite a lot of D going on there. And to someone's point earlier, I think Roseanne, it was in your questioning, in different environments, different things are going to come out. Yeah, quite possibly as well. So the questions that a D will ask will be what's happening, what's next, what do we need to do? Yeah, they're all about action. The questions the I will ask will be who's here, who's listening, who can I talk to, who can I engage with? Yeah. If I'm in S, it's how will this happen? How will it affect me? How will it affect you? And for the C's, why are we doing this? Why does this make sense? Why is this the best option? Okay, so there's some different frameworks to think about the different behavior styles. So I'll talk for a second about, and please pop in any questions. Lorna's going to keep an eye on those because I can stop and answer anything specific along the way. Natural versus adaptive. Okay, and I know it's got descriptions on the page there, and I tend to just sort of go my own way with this. But natural, our style is generally how we turn up if we're not thinking about it. So we're at our most relaxed, I suppose, but it's also our default, like what we will tend to if we're put under pressure. And then our adaptive style is often how we might behave because something's being required of us, something different, and we might be being observed. We might be in a new environment. Sometimes, and I tend to find this both with men and women, it can be a difference between home and work. Yeah, so we might be a particular style, and this was more prominent in mine in the early days. I remember noticing that was my S was, you know, was more one at work and less one at home. My D was higher at work and less at home. So yeah, we can see sometimes there. So as your coach, what I do is I always look for those discrepancies. It's quite important in my kind of synergy sessions, because when we are adapting, it makes sense from our natural behavior style, it can be for many reasons, but if we're adapting just because we might be in a new role, or we're trying something a bit different, or it's a new environment, then it makes sense that we might be adapting for a little while to get used to something. But it could be because we're under stress or under pressure, or we're in an environment that expects something of us that isn't in our natural flow. So I always like to or it could just be a homework thing. I always like to get to the bottom of that, because we're adapting, and depends to the degree that we're adapting. For too long, it can be quite tiring. So I tend to say, like, so here's an adaptation on the D here for John. So that's sort of a medium adaptation. So I talk in standard deviations, but you know, a little bit of an adaptation is just like a shift in energy. You know, 2 standard deviations would be, and that could be a little bit, you know, a bit tiring. Then we get to stressful and distressful. So sometimes we see a really big adaptation. You know, it's a bit of a signal, it's a cue for me to understand what that's about, and if it's can we remedy it? How long is it likely to go for? So it's an indicator of something to look for. Also, it can also be an indicator of a shift, of a change, of a growth period. So sometimes, oh, I'm talking too fast already. We might have our D might be adapting higher, for example. And that may be because we're in an environment where we need to make more decisions and be more assertive than we would usually be. And it might be outside our comfort zone, but that may be a muscle we are strengthening. And give me 6 months and take this again, and then your natural style will have come up to meet that. Does that make sense? Likewise, sometimes if we're like quite high in one of those, our adaptation might be, you know, lower, and that may be something that over time actually becomes our natural style, because we shift and grow and change. And I do see changes in DISC over time. It's our behavior style, and I think about these as muscle groups. And as we go into different sports, as we play different games of life at different stages in life, we need different muscle groups to do that with. So that's a bit of an explanation on the natural and adaptive, but I'm open if you have any questions about that, just let me know. All right, so I'll just have a little bit dig into the report. So after you've got your graph, this is a report with other things in there. I'll just get past that. Then you've got this report, this DISC index report. So it gives you a bit of general information, how the DISC works. This is a really cool page to print off and have on your desk. If you wanted to think about the people in your life and think, oh, well, I wonder what they are, you can do this. So if you were just to sort of layer that bar graph over this chart, that's kind of where it would come up. So as a D, am I completely agreeable and mild and, you know, leave it to everybody else? Or am I kind of inquiring or competitive, or am I really forceful and I just make decisions for everybody? So that will give us an idea of where you are on the D scale. So it's a good one to kind of look at and use to identify, who am I talking to here? And today we're talking about this is for you and for your self-awareness, but would love you to understand, especially in the kind of industries that you girls are in, the power of knowing this in your interactions with other people. So if you understand who you are, so I'm say I'm I'm a strong S when it comes to negotiating, and then I can identify that I'm, oh my goodness, this person's like completely in their D, then I can speak their language. Because if I stay in S, we are just not going to connect. Anyway, it's a whole other conversation around sales conversations, sales communication, or negotiating, or leading, developing, managing people. This is all, it's hugely relevant. So this is like a great little tool that I like people to sort of know that you've got up your sleeve to try and help you understand the people around you as well as yourself. Just a graphical representation depending on the visuals and how much you like that. So then we go to these pages, and these are really fantastic. So this is the D page, and it gives you a general understanding of what a higher D or a lower D behavior style is. But these bullet points down here, they're all specific to your result. So as you go through your report, look at those and, highlight the ones that that resonate with you, or tick or cross the ones you're not sure about. Question marks, that's where you come up with like, well, what does that mean? And I love those questions, so go for it. I want you to to pull it to pieces, because a really big part of the value of having someone having the time with me to do this with you is to understand what that means. There are some words in this report that will trigger you. Trying to think of some examples. There will be ones around critical. There'll be ones around passive aggressive comes up, and people can get really triggered by that. It's really important to sort of understand the context of what that means and how it relates to you. So I'm really good at translating that stuff. So don't hesitate. So the bullet points are really interesting. And it does that for each of those. Okay, so your specific kind of result areas, and this is relating generally to the natural style. And then you get through to an overall pattern summary for your natural style and an overall pattern summary for your adaptive style. It goes on. This page is around ideas for being more effective. So this is a great one for right now, and I directed a client to this just yesterday. Actually, it was at one of the others around being motivated. He's like, I find it really hard to just sort of stay on track or feel motivated. I mean, there's an entire page here just on, as a, whatever your profile is, here's ideas for being more motivated. And in the conversation with him, we were talking about some of the things he was doing, and he was literally slumped in his chair. And then I asked him about the team and what he'd been doing with that, and he just was like, came alive. And then I directed him to here. I think there's someone in a waiting room there, maybe. No chat.
No, there's a question coming then, Rebecca.
Okay.
Just I'll let you know a comment from Lizzie. It's making me laugh a bit at how accurate it is and drawing out my desire to be logical and correct. A very high C. So.
Yeah, super high C. Absolutely. If it doesn't make sense, why do it, right, Lizzie? So I mean, you've got tools in here, and I want you to understand you've got this report. This is a manual to you. I mean, this is a small version that I'll show you more of the report I've got on the screen here that has these other areas. But seriously, if you're feeling, underwhelmed around what you're going to do or how effective you're being, go to this page and go, okay, how much have I been delegating? If I'm John, I need to go, how much am I delegating at the moment? Because if I've become kind of, I may as well do it myself, that's going to cycle me down. So ideas for being more effective, more motivated, strength-based insights. So that's just more information about what your strengths allow you to do. So if you're thinking about what you're going to do next, what kind of part you should play in a group that you're putting together, an investment you're making, or a job that you're going to be taking, then good to understand what your strengths are. And at this point, I'll introduce, if you are working with a team, if you're working with others in any capacity, how cool would it be to have this information about them? Okay, so I don't understand people, businesses that I work with. Well, I don't work with businesses now who don't have their whole teams profiled, because here is the perfect opportunity to go, what? This guy is just not turning up. Why are we just banging heads? Or why is he not motivated? This is an opportunity to go straight into that. And in recruitment, don't get me started on recruitment. It's absolutely categorically not negotiable. If you work with me, everyone in recruiting this is just critical. Ideal job climate. So if you're thinking about, is property investing for me, is renovating or, whatever part of the market you're in for me, this is a great page to go to and go, okay, well, if this is what I want to do, this is how I need to set up my environment to make that work for me. Because, I was speaking with a colleague earlier today about, he's down in Sydney and really struggling with being a solo entrepreneur. He's used to being in corporates and thought, yep, I can do it for myself. Really struggling with being a solo entrepreneur. That doesn't mean he can't have this business that he's doing. It just means that he needs to create a structure around himself that supports what his needs are. And we often don't do that. We just buy into something that's external to us. Areas for continual improvement, fairly self-explanatory, but it's going to tell you some truths around areas that you could possibly look at for growth. If you're into that kind of thing, you wouldn't be on this call if you were. Preferred training and learning styles. I think this is fascinating, how you prefer to share knowledge or teach. And you go through that and go, actually, that's so true. When I'm delivering stuff to people, then you've got to really think about, is that how they like to learn? Yeah, because that's what we've got on the bottom of that too. So again, if you're working in a team, certainly if you're employing people, I mean, you want these information, right? So it takes a lot of the guesswork out, which is pretty exciting. this is probably by far my favourite page and the one I insist everyone print off. I'm going to slow down. I'm so excited. Things to do to communicate effectively with John. Now, you just print that off and you just hand it to everyone who's got to work with you, including your partner and your kids. And then things to avoid to effectively communicate with this person. Yeah. And so for yourself, go through and go, oh my God, that's totally true. I hate it when people do that or say that or don't give me that information. It's a really, really good page. And then there's some worksheets at the back to help you really dig in. Now, I know which ones of you will fill those in and which ones won't look at them. So that's okay. You can decide for yourself. Yeah, so that's the report and the disc profile. So I'm open to questions now, Lorna, around some specific reports. I've got them all here, so I can bring yours up on the screen or I can not share it. It's up to you guys.
Well, how about we bring Roseanne's up on the screen, because she had some great questions there around that, and offered that we can do that. So perhaps give a bit of an overview of how you see Roseanne. I mean, I know and we'll also, Roseanne, if you want to make comment, please, you know, turn your audio on so that you can do that.
Okay, I'm just going to stop share for a second. I just need to move this to my other screen so I'm not looking sideways. That one.
And in the meantime, ladies, if you've got any other questions, please start typing away or put up your hand and we'll have those questions.
Have a look in your report and think, okay, what do I want to know about that? All right. Hello, Roseanne. Roseanne likes to get things right.
I'm not going to comment because it'll drop me in.
No, you let me know, Roseanne, because, you know, I mean, I rely on these tools hugely, but what's most important is that it makes sense to you. So I'm going to make some assumptions, but, you know, you can absolutely redirect me at any point. Tell me if I'm on the right track or not. Just turning that off. So Roseanne, we've got sort of a high CS combination. So obviously, that cautious and constrained. So you are really great on detail. You really love to make sure that things are correct. You will dot the I's and cross the T's. If I want something proofed and make sure it's on track, then I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to turn your video on because I need to see your face. Is that okay, Roseanne? There you are. Good. So yeah, so getting things correct. Yeah, making sure the details are all there, making sure that things are done properly, because why would you do it if you weren't going to do it properly?
Yeah. Why do it twice?
That's right. Yeah. Measure twice, cut once. Yeah. That's the philosophy. And that's backed up by your S, which is about doing the right thing by others as well. Roseanne, I'd suggest that would be important to you, that, you know, they're having those relationships and nurturing those and protecting those is important.
Yeah.
So that's, that combination is quite strong around that, and that, you know, one kind of drives the other. I'd be really interested to look at your values profile, because, you know, I would suggest that would support that.
Yeah.
You're quite comfortable making a call on things, making decisions. That's, you know, I'm looking at the D now and going, okay, so that's a strong level of, you know, the ability to make a decision. That said, you won't make it without the information required. Yeah, you're not going to wing it.
Okay, because I did have a question on that, because there was somewhere in the profile that sort of said things around that I won't make decisions. And I have to say that in in all environments, probably my most frustrating people to work with are those that don't make decisions at all. It's just, I can't stand having meetings. I can't stand discussing something if you can't come to some decision, even if it's not the solution, it's a way to the solution. Action. So so there was something in the report, I forget where it was now, where it kind of said about not making decisions. I'm like, that bit I don't quite agree with. So thank you for qualifying that a bit more for me.
So it might be around here where it says, under high pressure, you might become indecisive or resistant to making a very quick decision, because it's important to you that it is you know, as you say, it might not be the end result, but it's important to you that you do, it's not just a willy-nilly kind of decision. Oh yeah, that'll do. Yeah, you will like the boxes tick. Like if I say, no, I need it now, Roseanne, quickly decide. You'd be like,
yeah,
I just need to check my boxes, thanks.
yeah, yes and no. Yeah, my job has required much more of that quick decision making than
cool. And so then there's that adaptive there too, which is which means, you know, is going to show a bit of change. It's not a huge, you know, amount of change there, but yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to decisions, you're open for other people to make a decision, assuming it's, you know, you think it's reasonably well informed. So you're not overbearing in that manner, but you will definitely, if it's required from you, then you're good to go.
Yeah.
What else can we say? Yeah, so the S is that adaptation that I'm seeing in the S. I don't know, Roseanne, I don't know what you've been up to of late, but potentially you're having to maybe move through things a bit quicker than you would usually want to. So maybe having to be a bit more agile, a bit more, you know, changeable than ideally you would be. You can't maybe not able to be in the routines that you would generally like to be in. Would that be?
Yeah, it's a funny one, that one, because I do like structure and I do like routine. And this is going to sound weird, but I absolutely love change. I get very bored with things being the same all the time. And that's in terms of growth and challenge, I suppose. So it's kind of, again, that was one that sort of came up and went, you don't like change. I'm going, oh my God, I can't stand staying still. But I do live with someone who can't stand changing, doesn't make decisions. So it's kind of, I am learning where and how to taper our different personalities. Yeah. And that has had an influence on me, I suppose, not jumping at things so quickly, because it lands me in trouble normally. Because I am, Brad would tell you the opposite. He would say she's always changing. I'm the one who's changed complete careers multiple times, and he's the one who holds a 10-year job, you know, which I've never held a job for more than 2 years. So yeah, it depends what context you're seeing that change in, I suppose.
Absolutely. And that's a really good point, because if we were looking at your values, for example, we would see that there would be areas that for you that it's critical for. So you're probably a high theoretical, I'm going to imagine. You're what we call a high theoretical, which is you have a high desire to learn and grow. Yeah, definitely. And you're a seeker. You're probably a seeker of truth. So I don't know if I can bring up. Just bring up. If I can change my. All right, so I've just changed over. Can you guys see like a 7-bar graph there?
Yes, we can.
Great. Yeah. So so this one's theoretical, and these are the values. And the theoretical is that searcher of truth, that wanting to learn and grow. And so around that space, that's a driver. That's something that John, and I'm picking that you're the same, Suzanne, is a need for you to be fulfilled. So absolutely, you will be prepared to change to fulfill that need.
Right.
Okay, Roseanne, sorry, I know I just said your name.
That's all right, I get it all the time. I'm very okay with it.
Yes, it could.
So I have a question for you, Beckers, on that one. Would being high C and the S be something that you put some pressure on yourself to perform at a higher level? Would you be a little bit harsher with yourself, or critical with yourself if you don't? Laughing at Roseanne.
Just relating.
The fear of the C.
Hypothetically.
Yeah. The fear of the C is being criticised. Yeah, it's criticism of their work. So that starts.
But we're our own worst critics.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the fear of the S is loss of stability. So for you, Roseanne, stability is growth.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's quite narrow to think that stability means we don't change. For you, stability is growth. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, continuous improvement. Yeah, in
exactly.
what
So that, and
in
that
what I
requires
do.
change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so that combined with that desire to grow and learn, yeah, it makes sense. So to answer your question, Lorna, yes, generally, you know, there's going to be a self-critiquing because she has high standards for herself.
Correct.
And they, and I'm just making some assumptions here too, are likely attached to the desire to do, you know, right by others by being the best version of myself.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Okay.
Okay, Bernadette would like to offer hers as well, please, Beckers.
All right.
I'll just have a bit of an overview on hers.
Let me go.
Thanks, Roseanne, for sharing.
Welcome. Thank you.
You. It is really helpful to see other people's, to learn through others as well.
And remember, we're only doing a high level here.
Absolutely.
There is a lot more depth to this, but it's a great place to start and just, you know, start to learn a little bit about yourself and weigh it up. And I think this is where I come back to the awareness is really important, just to be aware. And it doesn't mean you have to change anything, but you may choose to change a few things. And I know that as I become more aware of my behaviours, particularly when I'm leading teams and I'm in a male-dominated field, it's really important for me to see how they're coming at it, because that gives me the edge. I know how to talk their language now. You know, I know how some people need to be right. They need to be right all the time. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, I'm able to go, you're right. Okay, that I hadn't looked at it like that. You are right. So let's explore this openly on the table and we'll have everyone contribute to the discussion and let's come to an agreement. So I haven't made them wrong, but I've been able to see that that's their need and I've answered that need. So this is some of the tools that, you know, I guess I've learned along the way using these sorts of tools to enable me to deal in team environments or even, you know, with my kids who are all grown up raising their own kids. So cool. How are you going there, Beckers?
Yeah, you go good. I'm good. So Bernie, I'm just brought up my our email that we shared as well. Was there anything specific to that? Did you have a specific question now, Bernie?
Yes. Am I working?
You are.
Okay, sorry. I can't tell. I've always struggled in people skills. So it was interesting to see, like my I, which you've said is around people, it's just like it's, for me, I sort of found it interesting because this is all about natural and, you know, versus adaptive. So like my D and S were pretty even, but I felt the I and C are quite a difference. So I just wondered, because, you know, when it comes to people skills, I feel I come on too strong, you know, when I meet people, and I'm just wondering that graph showing what it is. What is it? You know, 60 to 25. How would you explain that around people skills?
I think you did a good job just now explaining that yourself, as you were quite self-critical of your people skills due to your high C. And isn't this interesting? So you said, I've always struggled with my people skills, right? You are evaluating and judging those, yeah? Someone who was a lower I would be, I've never been, I'm not a big people person. So the difference is I struggle with people skills, like I'm not good at it, but I want to be, versus, I'm not like a super people person. So what we've got here is that I want to, it's important to you, to people and contacts and engaging with people, that is important to you. But you've got a story that you're telling yourself that, but I'm not for everyone. Like I put people off, I come on too strong. And that's that self-criticism because you want to do it right.
And that is that's my C coming out.
Correct. Yeah. And your C, SI, I mean, they are actually all really, really strong. So there's a real combination. So what happens is, when we kind of get these even Stevens, it's all very well to say we don't want super highs and super lows, but when we've got all even Stevens, now we've got 3 masters. Yeah, we're trying to please all those parts of ourselves, and that can be quite exhausting. So I've got to get it right. I've got to make sure everyone's okay, and I want to be liked. Holy shit, it's a lot of pressure. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
So in response to that, if we look at the adaptive, and again, I'm you know, fantasizing here because of limited information, but we go, okay, so I'll lower my expectations, my needs. Doesn't make me that comfortable, but I'll be okay with not having all the information, but it's lowering my confidence and my ability to people contact. And what I would say to you, Benny, and I have the privilege of actually having known you for a little while, would be, I am not for everyone, and I'm all good with that.
I'm writing that down.
I'm not for everyone, and I am all good with that. The people I'm good for, the people I am for, rock their world.
Okay, so it's not like, as you've just said, it's not a biggie to have these huge differences in natural versus adaptive. It just means
it's not a biggie. It's just, it's informative. In this sense, it's informative, and for you, and it's different for everybody. So for you, looking at this for you, and from what you're telling me today, I think this is you trying to be what you think you're supposed to be. Yeah, adapting to how you think you should be versus
how
I'm vivacious. I'm out there. I might be a bit in your face. I've got opinions. And you know the people in your life who freaking love you for that.
Yeah.
And the ones that don't, great.
Well,
go find another friend. We don't need that one, and they're not right or wrong. It's just, I was down the beach. I saw Lorna when I walked on the beach this morning. And my girlfriend and I were talking about, I was talking about someone I'd met on, through an online thing for coaching and whatnot. And I said, it was so funny. She popped up on the screen. I popped up on the screen. We looked at each other, never met each other before. And just both of us just instantly knew we were each other's people, Yeah. You've got that. Yeah. And then there's some people that it just isn't.
Okay. And it's the same with processes. Obviously, I'm, well, from what you've said, I like to be right.
Well, correct. Correct.
I like to be correct. But again, so, to have, again, such a gap, it means, again, I guess it's also acknowledging that not when the adaptive style is acknowledging that everyone's not like you. Would that be another explanation of it? Is that?
Could be, although I'm, and again, I'm hallucinating because I'm just understanding that what you're doing down in Caloundra and the program, the building project and everything. So what this can often be, because you do like to have, like give me all the details, keep it, have a process and a procedure for everything, that I'm maybe at the moment you can't have it all that way. You're having to adhere to how other people do things, and you're not able to keep control of it the way you would like to. If you were running it from, A to Z, it would be done differently, and you're having to be like, okay, I hope it works.
Okay, yes. Okay, so that's the other thing. This graph can be just for this moment.
It absolutely is a moment in time, 100%.
Yeah.
That's a really great insight. So this graph is a moment in time. It is for now. This is not you for your life. This is right now.
Okay.
All right. So we'll wrap that one up there. Thanks, Bernadette, for taking part in this. It's exciting, isn't it, to sort of have a little bit of a dive in and then have, obviously, Becca's view on that to help us and understand it. So thank you. So, Becca's, I've got a couple of comments here, and then I think we've got an overview we're going to do. So Lizzie has written, in crisis scenarios when things are changing a lot and current behaviours aren't serving us as well, could it be beneficial to work on the areas of behaviour that aren't as strong, i.e. for me, build up my D and calm down my S and C? So over to you. So Bernadette, would you like to turn off your video now, lovely? Thank you.
I can do that.
Yeah.
So Lizzie, well, I've just popped yours up there. I don't know if you wanted me to pop that up there. There was some extremes on there, Lizzie. So
Yeah, that's fine. She said that's fine.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. Whew. I'm gonna take a breath. I'm tired already, Lizzie. That's a lot of expectation, Lizzie.
Yes.
Okay. So I think your question was, so is now a good time to maybe work on those things? I'm not a great proponent of going, oh, what am I not good at? Let me go and spend my time on that.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily. What this says to me is you are in service of others' needs, probably more than yours. And I'm hypothesizing because I don't have the rest of the information and I haven't had a conversation with you. But yeah, I would suggest, and given you're on your own business, Lizzie, that that it would be really good to strengthen that muscle. But here's the way to do that, just as a bit of a guide. Go to these pages around being more effective, for example, because effective is around that action, taking action, getting things done.
Yes.
And have a look through those and just see what pops out on that, because I've got a sense that you're at the beck and call.
A little bit, yes.
That's okay. So yeah, I think in terms of just, is now a time to do something different? I don't think it's anything to do now for you, Lizzie. I think it's just now's it's an opportune time because you're taking a look. But that there's there'll be some real opportunities for you to reflect and decide. And this is certainly something I've found just in the last couple of weeks. I've gone from, and I've got this picture in my head of scrambling eggs, going, shit, just throw it all in, scramble everything I can find goes in the omelette, right? To be able to just step back and go, what actually needs my attention right now, including what part of me needs that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You got another specific question?
I don't think so. I think it's probably just looking at it now, taking the chance to look at it now is good. And I suppose when things are changing around, so my I like things quite stable. So things are changing a lot. I thought, okay, well, maybe I can just focus on knowing, okay, it doesn't have to be stable right now, but maybe I can make some decisions and be less critical about things, given that things are changing. But yeah, I suppose it's different when I wasn't looking at this before. So now I am.
Would you say that you have quite a few rules for yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So here's my suggestion for you, just as a quick activity, and some of you this will benefit as well. Have a couple of, just like maybe 3 rules to help guide where you put your attention. So to do that, you need to know what your priorities are. I did a quick LinkedIn post, I think we're on LinkedIn yesterday, I think, about how do you know what your priorities are. So have a quick read of that. But, identifying that absolutely without question right now, but right now, you have to have a priority for yourself, your self-care. So then you'll have a priority for, in your business, it might be around, it might be cash flow, or it might be marketing, or it might be whatever the thing is in your business right now, but don't have more than 3. And when you go to do something, it's got to meet one of those 3. If it's not meeting one of those 3, it probably shouldn't be the thing that you're doing right now.
Yeah.
My caveat to that is you're allowed an hour a day to do shit that doesn't come into your priority list. So yeah, have a bit of a play with that. So mine, if you want my top 3, it's my sanity, my sanity breaks, current clients, future clients. So if I can't put them into one of those 3, and of course within each of those, so my sanity is time by myself, time for connection, time with friends, with family, so you can build those out. But just by having them, it gives a consciousness to the things that we're doing. What I'm looking at your profile going, what you're potentially at risk of is being responsive but not conscious, like just someone else is conscious of what they're asking you to do, but you get to choose that too. And it might be that you agree, but I just want you to be sure that you are choosing it.
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Beckers, do you want to give us our surprise?
Oh, yes, I did mention a surprise. Well, I've decided there's 2 surprises now.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, this is the first one. So it was cool. So there was 13 of you that completed the profile. Lorna's not on here because she did a different one, so I can't put it in there, but it's got the other bits to it, Lorna. But isn't this interesting? So this is here's the DISC graphical representation. Don't get caught up on all the numbers, but it's plotted you all. And what do you notice?
Introverts. A whole bunch of introverts.
And that, interestingly, you all have a similar, like you're in a group, right, called Well Property Women. And with the exception of our couple of outliers here, this is, yeah, isn't it interesting how you all pull together? It's why you all like each other, because you're all, there's such a similarity.
Yeah, cool.
How cool is that?
Quite funny.
Yeah. So this is a tool we often use in, you know, obviously teams at workplaces. This is not what we want to see in a workplace, is it? Why would that be? Because everyone want to do the same job. We've got no one doing this job over here, which is probably our sales team or something. I thought that was pretty interesting. So yeah, so that's that. So really encourage you to actually read the report. It's actually not that long. It's like lots of pages, but the way it's laid out, the bullet points are all specific to you. Go through, highlight them, you know, cross them, question them.
Can you
send me
just
some
get
questions?
a screen now, Beckers, so we can see you properly?
Sure.
Thanks, lovely.
Yeah, so have a good look through the report. Read it. It's like a little, you know, bedtime reading. It's interesting. We all love an autobiography. That's yours.
Well, I think it's a bit more than, you know, you go to have your fortune told or you read your stars in the daily paper. Like this is really hitting home to your DNA. And what I find for me is that the more I learn about myself, it's really learning about my soul's desires, my heart's desires, what is good for my soul and what isn't good for my soul. And that helps me create environments. It helps me choose people in my life. It helps me choose projects. And while this is just high level stuff, it's a stepping stone to encourage people to sort of learn a little bit more about themselves. So yeah, it's exciting.
Cool. All right. Well, the only thing I wanted to add to that was, I haven't had a chance to talk to Lorna about this, so I'll clarify it with her. But you know, having had a look at that, and if that's interesting to you, obviously there's a values index which combines with that, and then there's this attributes index, our decision-making processes, all of that stuff that we can tap into. There's a whole lot more. And I'm, given that uptake, I was really, thrilled that you guys all did that. I'm happy to provide those reports, but only if I get to debrief them with you, because they're actually a lot deeper in that. So I'm going to come up with something for Lorna to share with you around what that might look like, and not charge you for the reports. But I've, you know, because I've been beg, borrowing and stealing from my suppliers at the moment, telling them they have to help me out. So I want to pass that on. And if anyone wants to have a debrief, a synergy session with me and sort of dig a bit deeper on a personal level, then we can do that. But other than that,
that's awesome. Thank you. So we'll continue this conversation again next week. But just in the meantime, Jane has asked a funny question. If we're all in a similar space in that profile that you showed us, so there's no room for joint ventures? Like when we do joint ventures, we actually bring different skill sets to the table usually.
Well, that's just on the behaviour side. So that's a really good question. Absolutely cool. And Lorna, we've talked about this with your project team. To look at obviously the value side of things, but actually the decision-making process stuff is actually really interesting when it comes to that. So if you're putting a team together, it makes sense that you're going to have some similar, but you want to make sure that the people you collaborate with, you know, who are in charge, for example, are going to be complementary. So when we talk about the decision-making styles, we talked about our practical or analytical or our personal decision-making patterns, and it's a big conversation.
One of the things I spoke to a couple of ladies this week who've, you know, made contact with me from the group who are looking at doing joint ventures. you know, and I'll hone in on this specifically, and maybe we can make that something for next week where we start to bring this out. But I wanted them to understand that it's not just, oh, we're good friends and we get on well, because when you go into a joint venture, you're actually going into like a marriage, and that brings with it its own complications. And you can be all happy and, you know, honeymooning through the first part, or, you know, you may be successful in getting through the whole project if it's a short project, but there's every chance, because in property there's challenges. There is never a deal done without challenges, and it's how you perform under stress. That's the key. So you really need to know the other person's personality profile, even if they're the money partner, because they've got stress around the money, or if they're the project partner, other than other things that come into it, like, you know, what if there was another GFC? How would they react? What if something happens to you? How would they react? There's a lot of things that come into it. And I think this personality profiling, or having a bit of understanding about that, or even knowing the questions to ask to sort of come to an agreement is important in the calm of day, because then you've got something valid to rest and build a foundation on. If, and it will happen, there's a challenge. So that's something perhaps we can work towards for next week.
Yeah. Sounds fascinating. Awesome. Well, beautiful. Thank you so much, ladies, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Beckers, for sharing, and everyone's, you know, Roseanne said great session. Bernadette's going to love the 3 rules, and I'm sure, yeah, Ildy's enjoyed the session, but she's waiting for her results to arrive. So we'll sort it out for you, Ildy. That'll be fine. And everyone else, yeah, it was great to see you today, and I know that this will be viewed by many people that weren't able to actually sit down and have a coffee with us, but we're going to be doing this on Fridays at 10 a.m. going forward, and we'll make it really start to grow your knowledge and understanding and awareness of who you are and who you must become. So on that note, we'll say goodbye for now, ladies, and it was great to see you all.